If you're an ambitious man, then you understand the importance of needing high energy. It's not just something that we want, but we thrive on it when we have these big goals in mind to accomplish, from building the business, getting the promotion, building the dream physique. With high energy, that almost 100 times like the progress of those goals and just makes it so much goddamn easier than rely on willpower and consistency. And by the end of this video, I hope you realize that having high energy, you can easily maintain, not just like a once in a month like occurrence or like a weekly thing, but daily. It's possible as long as you change your daily habits and have the right structure in place. So first off, my story, I started off with business. Well, it wasn't even like the fitness coaching stuff. This was like a couple of years ago. I was doing music and I was waking up at like 7, 8, 9, 10. Like it was all over the place, going to bed at like 2, 3, maybe like 4 a.m. at times, just chasing the work and going through the grind and all that stuff. But just having like super inconsistent sleep. So every single day I woke up sluggish, like groggy, just not really showing up to my best self, especially at the job I was working at the time where I was working like 30, 40 hours on my feet. It was hard to say the least because I wasn't giving myself a fighting chance. And it wasn't just sleep that was causing like these, I would call it energy leaks of like a pipeline where if you were to imagine like a water pipe, which is like full of water, that's like your energy. And you got these little leaks, like little like holes in the pipe, I guess you could say. Like those were like leaks that were causing my energy to decrease. At the same time, I was also severely under eating. I was training like twice a day. I was doing like runs and lifts when I was being consistent. And I wasn't fueling enough for those goals. So, the sleep, drip, 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 drip. You got the lack of eating, drip, 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 like multiple energy leaks. And on top of that, to make this even worse, I didn't have any sort of structure in mind as well. My days were kind of random. That's why I was waking up and going to bed late. I just didn't know what like I was gonna do throughout the day. So I was always in this constant like high cortisol, high stressful state that was a breeding ground for failure. If you can imagine that with all my goals I had in mind, of building the business, building my dream physique, because I was super skinny and I wanted like that confident physique I have today, it would be a lot harder for me back then than if I were to carry my life and go back in time today to do what I did. Then it took me like 2, 3 years to get to where I am today. Now, this probably would have taken me like a year and a half to 2 years, like max, with how much high energy I had through the day. So I hope that you now, based on my story, understand the importance of why high energy is important, like how energy leaks can like really screw up your goals. Because what took me years and like willpower and like stuff like that to really just get like the gears turning, it could take me like a fast tracked amount of time. So that's my story and the energy leaks that I was facing. And how you can actually fix that is pretty simple. Instead of going to bed like late all the time and waking up, like that's usually due to poor planning. And through scheduling out your calendar, you open up Google Calendar, you time block everything from the time you go to bed, the time you wake up, the time you go to bed, of like your ideal schedule. That's how you can give yourself a fighting chance. That's how you can give yourself like the breeding grounds for high energy. Is that you first start off by scheduling everything out. Like you choose like what would your ideal self wake up, what time would you go to bed, how much sleep would you be getting, and I'd recommend between like 7 to 9 hours of sleep, maybe 6 if you really can't handle that. Like I've got some guys I'm working with right now. He is a nurse and he's working from like 4 a.m. to like some like crazy like 12, 16 hour schedule. So there's no way in hell he's getting like 6 hours, like more than 7 hours of sleep on most days. So again, just work with what you got, but do your best to hit that 7 to 9 like mark. And that's like the first foundation of having high energy and becoming I would say a human at this point. Right now you're like subhuman if you're waking up needing to crush like an energy caffeinated drink just to survive the day. Like that is not human like behavior. We should be able to wake up being able to like love the day, be excited for what we're about to be accomplishing. But unfortunately, that's just not the case for most of us because we're in like this low fatigue state. So by following these next like couple steps too, on top of having the sleep, you can get to that point. Daily movement. Once you have your sleep dialed in, I want you also to time block on your calendar some daily movement. It could be anywhere from like 5, 10, 15, 20, even up to like 2 hours if necessary of some sort of movement. For me, that's 3 runs a week, 3 lifts a week, doing some sort of like walk or yoga or something when I'm not doing those like 2 things. And that just gets the blood pumping, like the ideas flowing. I just finished up a little like treadmill walk session upstairs since I don't have my running shoes on me. I just got these like little like fucking, well, let me show you, like fucking flip-flops that aren't gonna be able to be run in, so you just gotta work with what you got. Just some sort of movement to get like the blood flowing after you wake up. Not only you're gonna have like that nice like 7 to 9 hopefully hours of sleep, then you wake up, you go for like your morning workout, like a quick little session just to get things all hyped up, and you're already beating like 90% of people out there who are waking up, crushing some sort of like caffeinated beverage and rely on willpower throughout the day. Now you've got some like stuff in mind too. What you can also do, and what I recommend my clients to always do for this next step, is to have a hydration protocol. You take 30 to 40 ounces of water, you take like a pinch of sea salt or a pink Himalayan salt, you put the salt in your mouth, chug the water, and that's how you can hydrate your body. Because when you're sleeping, you're constantly you're like in this like dehydrated state when you wake up, right? So to fully hydrate your body, like they say that dehydration, it's why you feel like brain fogged in the morning, why you don't have any more ideas. That already like brings up my mood from like a 5 out of 10 to like a 6 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10 to 7 out of 10. It just makes life so much easier. So like with the sleep, with the like the hydration protocol do it before you work out too, so you have some like hydration in you, and then you go to work, do your workout. That already is like a perfect morning routine. You hear these guys saying that you don't need more like a morning routine, just like get started into your work, like the Hormozy side of things. Like, of course that works for some people, but I really do think that the morning routine just helps like get like the gears going. And it only takes like 30 minutes to an hour of your day, and then before you go into like your next work block period, and you're already in this like high frequency, magnetic, like happier go lucky version of yourself, that it's totally worth it. So we covered so far the energy leaks, poor sleep, under eating. And that's another thing I want to talk about too, is I was also severely under eating. What you can do to solve that would be to take like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer, some sort of food tracking app, and track your food for like 14 days, 2 weeks straight. First week, don't change up anything. Like don't use the calorie goal recommendation that the food tracker recommended you to do. Just track your food as normally and to see, are you even eating enough to support your goals? Because likely enough, especially if you're trying to build that dream physique, it's just not gonna happen. And if you wanna have that high amount of energy, you need 2 things. You gotta be eating enough and have mostly, if not all, whole foods in your diet. I'm no saint. I have like my cookies and my ice cream here and there, but for the most part, I'm eating like 80 to 90% of the time, it's gonna be like whole foods in my diet. Things like steak, ground beef, eggs, rice, potatoes, Greek yogurt, just a variety of foods plus like fruits and veggies that like your body can have like not only its macronutrients, but its micronutrients, which the macronutrients that covers like 80% of your health right there. But the micro, that's probably like 20%. And once you get those dialed in, when you have a nice like balanced diet, like screw what everyone says about carnivore and keto, stick to the balanced diet. Every single meal you should have some sort of like protein, carbs, and what I call color, which is like fruits and veggies. The PCC method, protein, carbs, and color. If you do that, you have like 2-3 meals a day following that method, you're gonna be like better than like 90% of men out there who wake up, crush the energy drinks. They have like the KFC or like their little like chicken nuggets and all that stuff that is just gonna leave them feeling like complete crap for the rest of the day. But if you were to wake up, do that morning routine, fasted, and then after that have like a Greek yogurt bowl with like honey and the frozen berries, like you can only like imagine, like you're probably picturing yourself in your head right now about how much better that you would feel, how much more like alive you'd feel. Like maybe you can't even picture that, but the second that you try it, I promise you, you're gonna feel so much better. You're gonna be in this more like focused state. You're gonna have like the nutrition to like back you up. Your face is gonna start to clear up because you're not eating all this like shitty foods. Your stress is gonna lower down from like the exercise and like having the better diet. So just by following like these little things, patching up like we said earlier, the pipeline for like any sort of energy leaks, you're gonna be able to live in like this like high frequency, happy-go-lucky state. For the action step for today's video, I would say pull up your Google Calendar, time block everything that you do from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, and try to optimize it to how you envision your dream self. We all have this like perfect ideal version of ourselves, like our quote-unquote James Bond figure as men, as ambitious men. You know, if we weren't ambitious, we wouldn't be striving for anything else, right? So think about like your perfect self, the person who's like locked in, high energy, high focused, you know, crushing in his work, has the dream physique. What does his day-to-day life be? And try to like schedule your calendar just like that. And if you ever want help with structure, building your dream physique, first link down below, book a call me one-to-one. We'll talk about your goals, your story, and if it actually makes sense to work together.